I spent 4 years studying how hedge funds work to understand one thing: how they actually trade. I wasn't interested in what they said they traded. I wanted the positions they held, the rules behind those positions, and the systems actually placing the orders. And what I found surprised me. A surprising amount of how these funds are built is already visible in public records. And it starts with a form called the 13F. Before we go any further, this is educational, it's not financial advice, and nothing here is a promise of results. Trading carries real risk of loss and isn't for everyone. Anything that I do mention about my own results is exactly that, my own. It isn't typical, and it isn't a prediction of what you do. And using any AI or software tools to build a trading system doesn't guarantee it will be profitable or even work as intended. If you want to know how a hedge fund actually trades, the first place to look is the public record. Large institutional managers have to disclose certain positions they hold. That disclosure is called a 13F. It's basically a quarterly snapshot. Open one up and you'll see the securities, the manager reporting holding, how many shares it had, and what those positions were worth at the end of the quarter. Now that's useful, but it isn't a trading history. By the time you see the filing, up to 45 days may have passed. The fund could have opened the position, changed it, or closed it entirely. The filing won't tell you which, and it doesn't show everything. Short positions aren't reported. Neither are futures or bonds, and securities listed outside the US don't appear either. So even the portfolio you see is only part of the portfolio the fund actually has. More importantly, the filing tells you what the fund held, but not why. It doesn't tell you the rule that opened the position. It doesn't tell you what caused the fund to close it. And it doesn't tell you what system placed the order. And that missing information isn't trivial. The hedge fund industry spends at least $2.5 billion a year on alternative data. That's information funds use to find and evaluate potential trading opportunity. None of it appears in the 13F. So if I copy the position from a 13F, I'm copying the output. I'm not copying the process that produced. And if you want to understand what that process actually looks like, I put together a free training in the description that walks you through one of these trading systems that I built. But we can still reconstruct some of it from what these firms actually say publicly. And the first clue comes from how quantitative managers describe the way they trade. Man Group describes quantitative investing as a process that can identify hundreds, potentially thousands of trades with only a marginally attractive probability of being profitable. The edge on any individual trade can be very small. The important part is what happens when that edge is repeated across a large number of trades or positions. That gives us first useful idea. A trading system doesn't need to win big on every trade to be valuable. It needs a repeatable edge that survives long enough and often enough to matter. But there is one other problem. Even a good system can go through long periods of losses. So the largest firms don't have to rely on one perfect source of return. They can combine many different ones. Millennium is a good example. Its own site describes a global diversified firm with more than 340 investment teams, 92 billion in assets under management, and 6,800 employees. Those teams don't trade all the same way. And Citadel isn't one strategy either. It operates across 5 core strategies: commodities, credit, and convertibles, equities, fixed income, and macro, and global quantitative strategies. The last of those is fully automated, while the others include fundamental and discretionary approaches. That's important because the principle isn't limited to algorithmic trading. The principle is different sources of return inside the same portfolio. One book can have a bad month trading bonds while another one is doing really well. One strategy can be losing money while another one is making it. And that can be useful. If two systems make and lose money under exactly the same conditions, combining them doesn't change the underlying risk very much. You've essentially made the same bet twice. But if they respond differently to the market, the second system can contribute to something the first one can't. That's why the question isn't simply which system makes the most amount of money. The better question is, what does this system add to the systems I already have? That is a different way to think about portfolio construction. And it's why the scale of these firms is interesting. You don't need 340 investment teams. You don't need 92 billion. You don't even need every system to be profitable at the same time. What matters is having systems whose return, drivers, and failure patterns are different enough that they don't all struggle together. That principle is available at a much smaller scale. And that's where we can take what hedge funds are doing and actually apply it ourselves. Copying what one of these funds holds gets you almost nothing. Not because the position is necessarily bad, but the position is only one piece of the portfolio. You don't know what the other strategies are running alongside it, how much capital is allocated to each one, and how their results interact with each other. And that is the part worth note-taking. You can't reproduce a hedge fund at scale. You don't need to. You can reproduce is the idea of combining multiple sources of return. Start with one system. If it has a credible edge, the next question shouldn't automatically be, how do I make the system better? It should be, what can I add that behaves differently? That might mean a different market, a different direction, different holding period, or completely different set of conditions that tells the system when to trade. Because two systems can look different on the surface and still lose money for exactly the same reason. If they do, you've added complexity without adding much diversification. What you want is for the two systems not to depend on the same conditions to make money. One can have a bad month while the other one has a good one. And this is where the hedge fund model becomes practical for smaller accounts. You run one system and the account is almost entirely dependent on one source of return. When that system struggles, the whole account feels it. Add a generally different second system, and now the outcome isn't determined by a single process. Add a third, and you have another source of return with another set of failure conditions. That's the portfolio effect. The goal isn't to find one perfect system. It's to build a group of systems that don't all depend on the same thing working at the same time. Instead of spending all of it trying to turn a good first system into a slightly better one, you ask whether a second system could add something the first one doesn't have, then a third. You don't need thousands of investments. You don't need billions of dollars. You need enough genuinely different systems that one bad period doesn't have to become the account's bad period. That's the principle the hedge funds are using, and that's the part that scales down. But building a portfolio is only part of the job. Inside these firms are people performing functions most retail traders have never performed themselves, and some of those jobs can be much, much smaller scale. That's what this video on screen breaks down. You'll see what those jobs actually are and which ones you can run yourself. See you there.